In this session of financial reporting, I am going to give you a brief introduction of IAS 1, presentation of financial statements. This standard, while is not independently tested, it is very important from your exam point of view because it tells us the formats of our financial statements. And in our FR exam, we do get a final accounts question in our section C of exam. So the format is also very important. Also, the understanding of formats is important for understanding the actual accounting treatment of different items as well. A complete set of financial statement, first of all, comprises of 5 different statements. Number 1 is your statement of financial position, which is made as at a certain date. Then we have statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. Previously, it was also called statement of comprehensive income. In certain cases like consolidation, this name is still used, but otherwise we call it P&L or statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. This is our number 1. This is number 2. The third statement that is used in our financial statements is statement of changes in equity. This also shows, as the name reflects, the overall change in equity during the year. Number 4 is our statement of cash flows, and number 5 are the disclosure notes, or what we call accounting policies and explanatory notes. In our exam, statement of cash flows is covered under a separate standard, which is IAS 7 in great detail. In this lecture, we are going to cover the formats of statement of financial position, statement of profit or loss, and statement of changes in equity. The first thing you need to understand over here is that accounting has 5 elements. So we have assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. These first 3 items are combined together and they are reflected in our statement of financial position. Why? Because all these items are reflected as at a certain date. Whereas income and expense are shown in our P&L, which shows the movement for a period. So income is shown over a span of time. Similarly, expenses are shown over a span of time, which is why P&L is always for a certain time period. In our statement of financial position, we see this head named equity. Equity is the most important for a user. Why? Because equity is the portion invested by the investor, and also it reflects the income or return that has been earned by that investor on the invested amount. So a separate statement of changes in equity is also made to tell the investor in detail what is happening to their equity and how it is changing on a year-on-year basis. Now I will take you to the format of these financial statements in another document. Here, as you can see, we start off with the format of statement of financial position, XYZ company, statement of financial position as at 31st December 2008. As per the format, we first show the assets of this particular company. Under the head of assets, we first show the figure of non-current assets. Step number 1, we have property, plant and equipment. This we cover under IAS 16. So ultimately, all the different standards that we study, in them we learn how to calculate the figures for certain accounting items. Here we will see where in the financial statements are these items reflected. Then we have investment property once again. The accounting treatment of investment property we learn from IAS 40, but when we calculate that at the end of the year the value of investment property is this, then that final figure is placed in our statement of financial position under the head of non-current assets. Then we have IAS 38, under which we study the accounting treatment of intangible assets. Once again, the final figure of these answers will be shown in our non-current assets figure. In financial instruments or IFRS 9, we study how to calculate the figure of financial assets in our company or financial instruments in our company. Then we have biological assets. So IAS 41, which tells us how biological assets can be calculated. All of these are our non-current assets. By non-current, we mean the assets which are going to give the benefit to our business for more than 1 year after the reporting date. Reporting date is the baseline from which non-current assets, current assets, non-current liabilities and current liabilities are calculated or differentiated from each other. Then we come to the topic of current assets. In current assets, we have inventories. Over here, so we have inventories. These are calculated as per IAS 2. Once again, there is a complete separate standard which deals with IAS 2. Then we have trade receivables. Then we come to the figure of current assets. This is the second part of our assets. So current assets, by definition, the assets which are going to be converted into cash within 1 year from the reporting date. The first asset in this case is inventories. Once again, there is a separate standard which tells us about the accounting treatment of inventories, which is IAS 2. In IAS 2, we will study that how we can calculate the closing figure of inventories, and we say that a portion of it or one part of the double entry is reflected in the statement of financial position in current assets. So this is how it is shown. Then we have trade receivables. The accounting or impairment of trade receivables is calculated as per IFRS 9 financial instruments, but that portion is not in our financial reporting exam. Then we have prepaid expenses. So any payments made in advance, they are also our assets. And then we have cash and cash equivalents. So bank balance is also included in this. So these are the total assets. In both the cases, you see we do the working in the inner column and we put the final figure in the outer column, and then we do the calculation of the outer column, which gives us the final figure of total assets. Then we move to the second portion of our statement of financial position, which is equity and liabilities. In case of equity, the first item that we need to cover is share capital, the most important part. So as you have studied in the basic level exams also, you have share capital, which is recorded at par value or nominal value, at par value or nominal value of the share. Then we have share premium, which is any extra amount paid on the issuance of shares. Any revaluation reserve will be shown in our equity as well. Then we have retained earnings, which were previously called accumulated profits also. Right now, the term that IAS 1 uses is retained earnings, and then we have other components of equity. This takes us to the final figure of equity. Then coming to non-current liabilities, the criteria is once again the same. Non-current liabilities are the liabilities which are payable after 1 year from the reporting date. So you take the reporting date, you add 12 months to it. The payments which are to be made after 12 months from the reporting date, they are called our non-current liabilities. This includes various long-term borrowings. You can say loan notes, debentures, redeemable preference shares. All of these can come in your long-term borrowings. Then you have lease liabilities, provisions. Let me just put missing figures over here. So you have lease liabilities. Then we come to the next figure, which is related to lease liabilities. The interesting point over here is that lease liabilities you can see in the non-current liabilities also and in current liabilities also. Basically, lease liability, normally leases are for more than one accounting period. So the portion that is payable within 1 year from the reporting date will be shown in current liabilities, and the remaining portion will be shown in non-current lease liabilities. So one lease liability schedule, one portion is shown in current liabilities and the remaining portion is shown in non-current liabilities. Then we have provisions. Lease liabilities, we will study the accounting treatment of these in IFRS 16. For provisions under IAS 37, once again, the criteria is that if the provision amount, if the amount for which the provision has been created is probable to be paid within one accounting period, then it is shown in our current liabilities. Otherwise, it is shown in our non-current liabilities. Then we have government grant liability. So as per IAS 20, we know that a deferred income is recognized for our government grant liability. We will study this in detail in IAS 20. Once again, the portion which is related to more than 1 year is shown in our non-current liabilities, and the current portion is shown in our current liabilities. Then we have deferred tax, same as the accounting treatment over there. Deferred tax details or rules are also included in our exam. This we will study in IAS 12. Now coming to current liabilities, we have trade and other liabilities, short-term borrowings, current tax payable or any deferred tax payable, all of it is treated for under IAS 12. There are short-term provisions, accrued expenses. What do we mean by accrued expenses? These are the expenses which have already been incurred but not yet paid. We have short-term provisions, bank overdraft, and this takes us to the final figure of our total equity and liabilities. Now, one more thing that is adjusted over here is normally, which is shown in our current assets, is non-current assets held for sale. In case of non-current assets held for sale, this we will study under IFRS 5. Such assets are to be shown separately from current assets, and if there are any related liabilities, they are to be shown separately from other current liabilities. So these can also be shown in current assets. This depends upon whether the company is applying the criteria for IFRS 5 or not. The rules of this you will study in detail in IFRS 5. So this is all with our statement of financial position. Then we come to the next format, which is related to statement of changes in equity. This is for the year ended 31st December. Why? Because it shows you the picture of throughout the year. So you start off with the opening balance figures of share capital, share premium, revaluation surplus and retained earnings. If you see, these tabs are the same as the equity in statement of financial position. Here we have other components of equity also. This is not compulsion to be there in every business, but if it is so, then somewhere over here you will have other components of equity tab as well. So step number 1 is you have opening balance. Then you apply IAS 8, which is related to changes in accounting policy or prior period fraud or errors. Any such adjustment is to be made against the opening balance of retained earnings. This is shown as adjustment in retained earnings. It can be a positive balance or it can be a negative balance. Once this is done, this takes us to the restated balance figure. Then we come to the transactions of the current year. This was the correction or adjustment of the previous years. Now we come to the accounting treatment of current year. So step number 1 is right issue of shares. In right issue, the share capital also increases and share premium also increases. Then in case of bonus issue of share capital, bonus issue is normally made from share premium or if required from the valuation reserve or other component of equity or retained earnings. It is subtracted from the other accounts and it is added to the share capital account. Bonus issue is always made at par value. Then we come to the total comprehensive income for the year. This we are going to study in a few minutes. So the profit for the year is added to retained earnings and any impact of revaluation is shown in the revaluation surplus. If we are talking about other comprehensive income, then it is definitely a gain on revaluation. Any dividends are subtracted from the retained earnings. These dividends are always declared dividends. So these can either be last year's final dividend or current year interim dividend. Current year interim dividend. Then in case of transfer to retained earnings, this is something that is done as per IAS 16 revaluation reserve. Its transfer is done from retained earnings to revaluation surplus every year. So its transfer is done from revaluation surplus to retained earnings every year. This is called realization of the revaluation surplus. So how do we calculate this figure? This we will see in IAS 16. But otherwise, every year a figure is removed from revaluation surplus and it is added to retained earnings. Normally, this figure is calculated by calculating the additional depreciation due to revaluation. Once all of this is done, we take the final balances. These are the total balances or the carried down figures. These figures are then shown as closing balances here in our statement of financial position. This is all with our statement of changes in equity. Now we come to the third statement, which is statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. As you can see, once again, this is for the period as it covers the incomes and expenses. The first portion of this statement is called P&L. It starts off with revenue, then you subtract cost of sales from it. How do you calculate the cost of sales? It is equal to opening inventory plus purchases plus production overheads minus closing inventory. If there is any purchase return, this is the figure for it. So if there is any purchase return, that will be subtracted from this figure. If there is any carriage inwards, that will be added to this figure. So all the costs directly attributable to purchases will be adjusted in this figure. But this is the basic formula which is used for the calculation of cost of sales. Then we have distribution costs which are subtracted, administrative costs which are subtracted. If there is any other income that will be added, it can be in the form of interest, it can be in the form of royalties, it can be on financial instruments, etc. So all of the other incomes will be added to this statement of profit or loss. This will take us to the figure of profit before interest and tax, which is profit from operations. Then you subtract finance cost from it. This takes you to the figure of profit before tax. Finance cost you have studied in financial liabilities. How do we calculate the finance cost? A small portion of it we covered in IAS 23, also borrowing costs. But these are the finance costs which are charged as an expense in P&L, and these are done on financial liabilities. So IFRS 9 gives us a detailed account of how these are calculated and how they are charged. Then we reach the figure of profit before tax. Then income tax expense is subtracted. This figure consists of current tax as well as deferred tax, which is IAS 12. This takes us to the final figure of net profit for the period. Once we have this figure, now we come to the second portion of our statement of profit or loss, which is other comprehensive income. Other comprehensive income is the portion of our statement which shows the unrealized gains and losses. These show the unrealized gains and losses separate from the regular incomes or expenses for the period. In this case, there are two items which come under the scope of other comprehensive income in our exam of financial reporting. One of them is gain on property revaluation as per IAS 16. So if there is a gain on revaluation, that will be shown in other comprehensive income. On the other hand, as per IFRS 9 financial instruments, if there is a gain on financial instruments which are at fair value through other comprehensive income, that is also shown over here. This working you will study in detail in IFRS 9, and once you've done the calculation, you will be able to understand how it is disclosed in our financial statements. Then, as per the rules of IAS 12, any tax which is related to the items shown in other comprehensive income will also be subtracted from the same figures in the same portion of P&L. So the tax related to property revaluation or instruments at fair value through OCI, they are also adjusted in the other comprehensive income portion, which takes us to the final figure of other comprehensive income. Combined, this statement is called statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. Please keep in mind the format that we have studied over here. In this case, it is assumed that all the expenses in the business are categorized into either cost of sales, distribution cost, admin cost, or finance cost. So maybe if there is a depreciation of plant, that will be charged to cost of sales because it is directly related to production process. If there is depreciation of motor vehicle, it might be charged to distribution cost. If there is a depreciation of administrative building, then it might be shown in administrative expenses. So the expenses are distributed, or you can say apportioned, in relevant heads, and they are shown as a combined figure in our statement of profit or loss. These statements, all three of them may be required in a question in your exam. So the section C of your exam, which is related to constructed response questions, all three of them might be required to be made, or any two or any one of them might be required to be made when there is a statement of financial position question. So there can be an independent question as well of 20 marks each. But this is the format that you have to follow, and you have to keep it in mind so that whenever you study an individual standard, you are able to relate to it, that how it is shown in my final financial statements. This is all with our lecture for today. Please go through the relevant formats from your textbook as well for better understanding. Thank you.